Hello. In 2019, the States Assembly declared a climate emergency and asked the government to write a carbon neutral strategy.
The most important part of being carbon neutral is reducing greenhouse gas emissions as much as possible and buying offsets to balance what can't be reduced.
They also set up a Citizens' Assembly on Climate Change. 9,000 households were randomly sent an invitation to be on the Citizens' Assembly. Anyone over 16 who's eligible to vote could apply.
From those that applied, a random selection process came up with the final group of 45 people, all different ages, genders, backgrounds and views on climate change. The group met 15 times and talked to experts, researched topics and had discussions to work out how should we all work together to become carbon neutral.
They came up with ideas and considered the implications so they could make recommendations on how we can reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. They focused on the two biggest sources of emissions: transport and heating, cooling and cooking.
To reduce emissions produced by transport, they came up with ideas on public transport, cycling and walking, reducing demand for travel, private cars, phasing out fossil fuel vehicles, new technologies, making the transition fair for all islanders.
And for heating, cooking and cooling emissions, they focused on building standards and planning law, retrofitting residential buildings, creating a Minister for Energy, government and business owned properties, rental properties, how we could make change happen, and community initiatives.
The group was also asked to vote for when Jersey should become carbon neutral. They voted for 2030.
So what happens next? The Government of Jersey will carefully consider the recommendations and work out the steps needed to take Jersey's carbon neutral plans forward. This will be published in the Carbon Neutral Roadmap, and people across Jersey will be able to have their say on it before it's debated by the States Assembly. States Assembly members will have an initial debate on the Citizens' Assembly recommendations this summer. In spring 2022, they will debate the Carbon Neutral Roadmap and decide whether or not to adopt it.
Thanks! If you want to know more about Citizens' Assembly on climate change and the recommendations, go to www.climateconversation.je.